FIFA World Cup 2026 Group Stage Full Fixture and Schedule. FIFA World Cup 2026 Group Stage Match Day 1. Thursday the 11th of June 2026 Group A. Mexico vs South Africa, Czechia vs Korea Republic all-time or local. Friday the 12th of June 2026 Group B. Canada vs Bosnia and Herzegovina Group D. USA vs Paraguay. Saturday the 13th of June 2026. Qatar vs Switzerland, Brazil vs Morocco, Haiti vs Scotland, Australia vs Turkey. Sunday, June 14th, Germany vs Curaçao, Netherlands vs Japan, Ivory Coast vs Ecuador, Sweden vs Tunisia. Monday, June 15th, Spain vs Cape Verde, Belgium vs Egypt, Saudi Arabia vs Uruguay, Iran vs New Zealand. Tuesday, June 16th, France vs Senegal, Iraq vs Norway, Argentina vs Algeria, Austria vs Jordan. Wednesday, June 17th, Portugal vs Congo DR, England vs Croatia, Ghana vs Panama, Uzbekistan vs Colombia. FIFA World Cup 2026 Group Stage Match Day 2. Thursday, June 18th, South Africa vs Czechia, Switzerland vs Bosnia, Canada vs Qatar, Mexico vs South Korea. Friday, June 19th, Scotland vs Morocco, USA vs Australia, Brazil vs Haiti, Turkey vs Paraguay. Saturday, June 20th, Netherlands vs Sweden, Germany vs Ivory Coast, Ecuador vs Curaçao, Tunisia vs Japan. Sunday, June 21st, Spain vs Saudi Arabia, Belgium vs Iran, Uruguay vs Cape Verde, New Zealand vs Egypt. Monday, June 22nd, Argentina vs Austria, France vs Iraq, Norway vs Senegal, Jordan vs Algeria. Tuesday, June 23rd, Portugal vs Uzbekistan, England vs Ghana, Panama vs Croatia, Colombia vs Congo Drive. FIFA World Cup 2026 Group Stage Match Day 3. Wednesday, June 24th, Switzerland vs Canada, Bosnia vs Qatar, Scotland vs Brazil. Wednesday, June 24th, Morocco vs Haiti, Czechia vs Mexico, South Africa vs South Korea. Thursday, June 25th, Ecuador vs Germany, Curaçao vs Ivory Coast, Japan vs Sweden. Thursday, June 25th, Tunisia vs Netherlands, Turkey vs USA, Paraguay vs Australia. Friday, June 26th, Norway vs France, Iraq vs Senegal, Cape Verde vs Saudi Arabia. Friday, June 26th, Uruguay vs Spain, Egypt vs Iran, New Zealand vs Belgium. Saturday, June 27th, Panama vs England, Croatia vs Ghana, Colombia vs Portugal. Saturday, June 27, Congo Drive versus Uzbekistan, Algeria versus Austria, Jordan versus Argentina.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, जेएनजी न्यूज़ पर आपका स्वागत है दोस्तों। फीफा वर्ल्ड कप शुरू हो चुका है दोस्तों। इस बार का वर्ल्ड कप कनाडा, अमेरिका और मेक्सिको में खेला जाएगा और इस बार के विश्व कप में 42 कंट्रीज हिस्सा ले रहे हैं दोस्तों। आपने पूरा शेड्यूल अगर देख लिया हो तो आपसे अनुरोध है, चैनल को लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए और बेल आइकन भी दबा दीजिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो। जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम।